Well, it is Wednesday, the 3rd of January, 2024. It's a whole new year. I'm Bob Harris. This is the Football Diehards YouTube channel, and it's time to go on the hot seat. But first, FootballDiehards.com is no longer the website, but we can talk about more about that here in a minute. I appreciate you joining me here on the YouTube channel every Wednesday at this time. Also on Saturdays at noon, we do the Ask Me Anything live streams. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. If you haven't already completed those tasks, they're right below me. Go ahead and do those. Hit the like button if you would. It makes me feel really good about myself. In a time that's not easy to feel good about myself. So if you missed it, and it's week 18, people. I know you're all in like hella championship games. I hope not. Will not throw a drink on you like David Tepper, although I could afford to be fined, apparently. So anyway, if in case you missed Saturday, I kind of made the announcement and sobbed like a small child with my candy stolen from me. It was the first time really I'd processed this publicly, right? So I'm better now. So not great. Obviously, nothing's going on. So, but maybe some of you missed it, and so I want to give a little opportunity for everyone to catch up, and appreciate y'all showing up here as always. Good to see you, Jim. Thanks for coming. Great to see you, Toby. Thank you, Dame. How are you, Albert? Friends, don't let friends play in week 18. This is true. Don't do this, people. You've put all this effort in, right? You put all this time in, all this research and energy in. It's random enough. The NFL is volatile enough. It's not like you need to throw in a week 18 when we're going to have a series of quarterbacks. Let me read you the list. Tyler Huntley will start in Baltimore. Jeff Driscoll will start for Cleveland Browns. I love you, Joe Flacco. I miss you already. Jarrett Stidham. Well, we knew he was starting anyway. Blaine Gabbert for Kansas City. Easton Stick in LA, of course. Carson Wentz will start in place of Matthew Stafford for the Rams. Nick Mullins, he's going to start again. That's good news. Why didn't they think of that in the first half of last week's game when it would have helped us? Terod Taylor, Trevor Siemian, Mason Rudolph, Sam Darnold for the San Francisco 49ers, and poor Sam Howell forced into duty again. Kudos to him for holding up well. It's week 18, man. I mean, what do there is like, we've been talking about it all year long, the volatility that's involved with just the NFL in general. It's their designed outcome is to have weird outcomes, right? And as I've mentioned many times, it goes all the way to the design of the football. It's an oblong spheroid. It's meant to bounce funny ways, just so this kind of craziness happens. Hello, Dave. Hello, Joe Herbert. Hey there. It's good to see you, Mr. Scampers. Thumbs down. Damn it. I was hoping for a thumbs down. I like to have at least one, Dave. So yeah, it's a struggle enough to get through a season without throwing an added layer of difficulty in at the end. It's not like diving. You're not going to get extra points because it was harder to navigate week 18. You're going to get fewer points because it's harder to navigate week 18. So anyway, I want to start out with letting everyone who wasn't here for the crying version of Bob Harris to know what's going on with the Football Diehards website. You can see if you go there, there's an announcement there. Emil Kadlick, our publisher and the president of Fantasy Sports Publications, was diagnosed with cancer to start the season. And he's been undergoing chemotherapy all season long. And trying all kinds of new approaches. I think he's got a new one today. I don't want to give him, I don't want to talk about other people's private stuff, but man, he's battling, right? He's battling away, and he intends to beat this. It's pancreatic cancer, so it's not easy. But like, I know there are many things I could say about Emil Kadlick. One of the things I cannot say is Emil Kadlick is a quitter. He is just, it's not. I think he's not going to fight this with every ounce of energy is totally would be not to know what he is. So anyway, I just, he's stepping down, right? He's going to focus on his family and his health, as well he should. So with that, the site's, we've suspended operations basically indefinitely, and probably, not coming back in the version that we've seen right now. So I'd like to give a little background for Emil Kadlick in case you don't know much about him. I mean, you've probably, early in the year when he was here behind the scenes, you probably heard his voice a few times. He founded Fantasy Sports Publications in 1990, started the Pro Forecast magazine. You can see it over my shoulder, the other shoulder. In that year, in 34 straight years, he has published that magazine. I've been alongside him for 30 of those. And and it's been great. It's we started three other titles, and eventually printed like 5 different versions of magazines. Each year had distribution, nearly 1 million copies on newsstands across the nation. And so that's just part of it, though. Like in 2002, he co-founded the World Championship of Fantasy Football, the original first ever high stakes fantasy football a contest, which in Vegas it was a huge deal. And I mean, like when I say event, it was an event, right? A huge event. Everything about it was just so top notch. So that earned him the 2018 Matthew Berry Game Changer Award, as well as should have. We rebranded the website to be Football Diehards shortly thereafter, and so we've kind of gone on from there until now. And along the way, did all kinds of cool stuff. Created the original best ball draft back in 1998. We called it a Draft Master. It was the FanX League, the Fantasy Experts League. A bunch of people today well played in it, and we all battled. But there was a point where, man, we're in too many leagues. And he said, "Oh, let's do this. Let's draft a set and for a draft and forget team, and we'll just play the best." We called it Draft Master, as I mentioned. And now we're all playing it. I just checked some of my scores today. I'm doing phenomenally well in my best ball. Phenomenally well. Very well. So also, the FSWA is the Fantasy Writers Association. Emil and I, along with 2 other people, Ryan Houston and Kirk Boyles, founded that in 2004. Fantasy Sports Writers Association, and wanted to raise the profile of content creators and come up with some awards and everything. Emil was inducted subsequently into that organization's Hall of Fame in 2011. He is also in the FSTA and FSGA Hall of Fame as well. More recently, he created a site called Fantasy Nation. You should go there and check it out. He's Emil keenly interested in the history of the game and the hobby we enjoy so much. And he has like interviews with 30 some pioneers of the industry, and not just like pioneers who got it started early, but people who came along later, some of the great women in the industry, etc. So you should check that out if you get a chance. And so we're kind of like, at this point where we're looking to see what's going forward. I have a job. So I announced that on Twitter. Obviously, this is not a new development, right? This has been ongoing for a while. It's not like we were putting it out there. We were trying to get through the season and deliver. So I have a theory that when I got in this business, and Emil shares in this, back 1,000 years ago, when like your paper got delivered by a paper boy, you went out Sunday morning to get your paper. You didn't care about anything but where's my paper. Like if the paper wasn't there, it was like, oh, I hope the paper boy's okay. No, it's where's my paper. That's all. Nobody cares about the paper boy. Sorry, paper boy. So I've always viewed myself as the paper boy. I'm here to deliver content. You don't care what's going on with me. You don't care what's going on with Emo. I mean, you do, but like you want your stuff. And so we delivered the stuff, and now we're gonna set it aside. We've had a great staff over the course of many years, working alongside us. The most recently, Gary Davenport, John Laub, Eric Romoff, and Jamie Calandro, Evan Tarciano, Casey Joyner, the football scientist, Justin Linero, Reginald James, the commissioner, Joe Colonna Jr., Brad Cruz, great high stakes player, Tara Roberts chipped in, Drew Phelps on the prop bets, Stacey Perez did a little writing for us, Matthew Sharon, Mike Valverde, and we've had friends who've moved on to bigger roles, guys like Armando Marsal, Kyle Dvorak, and all these people. You've not seen the last of them. Most will apply their trades at other sites or already do, and will continue to, and you may see them here on this channel. We're kind of figuring out how we're going to do this. I have some ideas. You'll be surprised to learn, Bob Harris, not just an empty suit. I have some ideas. So we'll be moving forward with that. But like over the years, the list of magazine contributors has been phenomenal. Some of the biggest names in the industry: Barry, Grant, Fabiano, Eisenberg, Evans, Barons, our good friend Nick Bakai, Matt Waldman. So many people as part of the Masters forecast, etc. And brought all kinds of people into the spotlight. I think that's kind of something that I hope Emil is proud of. I'm very proud of. We were able to get a lot of people into the industry and raise their platform, and we continue to do that with the radio program and here on the channel. You'll see me bring on guests, and that's something we've always done: diversity of opinion and viewpoint, and bringing on people who needed to be heard because they have great things to say. So I'm really proud of that over the course of the years. So I moved on to Football Guys. My old friend Joe Bryant. I'll be working with him and a fantastic cast of characters there. I'm getting to know them all and figuring it all out, and figuring out my role as well. Thank you, Scampers. It's look, I hate that I need a new landing spot. I'm 62 years old. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been working alongside Emo Catholic every day for 30 years. Obviously, it's it's gone well. I mean, it's like anyone you work with for closely for 30 years. I mean, did we agree on everything? No, of course not. And that's how you get creative, and that's how new things are worked out. You break some stuff, and things get moving forward. So, um, but I didn't expect to be here, at this point, saying, "Wow, I got to find a new thing. I got to do something else." And selfishly, I wish and not selfishly for Emo, I wish we were both doing the same thing for another 30 years. I intend to do this for another 30 years. So part of the reasoning of, why do I join Football Guys? Well, I want a place where I can work another 30 years, right? I want to be the Willie Nelson of fantasy football. I watched him on a show the other night. His bony old hands picking away. That guy can play. Let me tell you something. So that's where we are. And looking forward to what I have going forward. Obviously, hate the circumstances. Feel super fortunate at the opportunity that I have, and so that's where I'll go. So I hope you all have some questions here, because that's kind of all I had. We all know the news, right? It's week 18. It's going to be difficult to divine what's all going on. I mentioned the list of quarterbacks that are not going to play. That includes many players who aren't going to play. If we look at the games that are coming up, I mean, it's pretty easy to see. We got a couple Saturday games. That's going to be very tough. Does name value equal fantasy value in your opinion? This is an interesting question. I like these kind of questions this time of year. By the way, there'll be tons of DFS. And also, I should suggest you tune in. Jamie and Eric will be here on this channel doing their usual thing Fridays or Saturdays to help you, guide you through your DFS lineup creation, because that's what it's all about for me now. Like, I know some of you are still in games, and I hope not, but it happens. And but it's a question. Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate that. And you can give Emil your best, all of you. If you want to write Emil a note, drop him a note at emil.cadlick@gmail.com. That's on my Twitter feed. Also, there's a GoFundMe. I'd love for you to go. If you can't give money, it's okay. Share it. But if you can't do any of that, drop them a note. Say, hey, Emo man, I really appreciate what you did, or I enjoyed this aspect of your job. I love this thing or that thing, or just whatever. No, I didn't. You're good. Of course, Mr. Scampers. Dude, no worries, man. That's totally true. Yeah, nobody misread that. Yes, I'm, for now. So I was talking to Joe Bryant today. I said, I got this channel. I want to use it. So Jamie and Eric will be on here doing DFS stuff, at least through the playoffs. And I have some ideas for this going forward. And so we'll see how it plays out. I'll be doing stuff on Football Guys. They got a YouTube channel too. And I'll be doing stuff there. But I have some specific ideas. I have some ideas for this channel. So hope you all will, something I think you'll all enjoy. It's like something kind of carries on what Emil and I have been doing, something that I mentioned of, putting the spotlight on content creators who maybe haven't gotten the spotlight they deserve. So I'll be doing that. By the way, Dave Lisman pointed out the Viper Playoff Challenge. Matt Donnelly has put together a challenge. I want to tell you, the list of people who have contributed prizes to this is mind-blowing. I want to tell you, it's mind-blowing. I'm saying that because I'm stalling so I can bring up the list. Football Guys, Matt Harmon at Reception Perception, Guru Elite, the Fantasy Guru site, Jeff Manns, Scott Fish giving a Scott Fish Bowl 2014 entry, Scott Fish Bowl 14 entry. Thank you, Scott Fish. Fantasy Points, our friends Joe Dolan, who you saw in this program a little while ago, John Hansen as well. Roto Baller chiming in, my guy Howard Bender at Fantasy Alarm, the Vipers, all giving some great prizes in this league. It's a $25 entry. You can go find it on my tab or at Matt Donnelly FF. Search Matt Donnelly on the X device or Twitter. It's pinned right to the top of his thing. It's the Vipers 6th annual playoff challenge. He's already raised a ton of money. We're going to put that in the GoFundMe. And you can compete against me, Jules McLean, the great Jules McLean, one of the women of fantasy who was in the magazines like early on. Matt Harmon will be playing, Howard Bender, many more, and all the funds will go to support Emo. So appreciate. Thanks for bringing that up, man. Because I'm, hey, no problems being late. We're just getting into this. And JC, I'm going to get back to your questions here. I'll get back to the questions. There's some of these things I want to get out there. So I appreciate that. A brief explanation of the format. It's kind of like a one and done. You go into the playoffs, you can use a player once, and I think that's the only time you can use them through the course of the playoffs. So you have kind of a multi-layered approach. You have to pick who you think is going to play on further into the playoffs. So it's a lot of trickeration, kids. It's tough. And so me and Mike Dempsey have on Football Diehards. By the way, Football Diehards, the radio program, will continue as is, as you've come to know it. If that's where you know me from, or that's where you get a lot of the content from, that's Mike Dempsey and I will continue on there. So there you have that. Should have said that, right? Yeah. I want to thank Jacob Stevens Kittner and Rob Tuzay at Sirius being very supportive of all this. My friend Steve Cohen there as well, being very supportive of all this. So really appreciate the people at Sirius for appreciating us as much as we appreciate them. So all right, so let's get into it. So thank you for all that. And again, the GoFundMe is pinned to the top of my Twitter feed, my X feed. And you want to share it, you want to donate, whatever you want to do, feel free. If you don't want to do any of that, write emo note, emo.cadlick@gmail.com. He would love to hear from you. So do that, I said, kindly. Not like giving orders here. I'm just Bob Harris. Who am I to tell you what to do? Except hit the like button and the notification bell, because we are going to have content here. Again, the DFS stuff coming throughout the month. I'm going to be back here, I think Saturday for an AMA, and hopefully there'll be all kinds of DFS lineup questions that I've figured out the actual values to. It's been a hectic early week. I might be kind of useless on the football stuff. Okay, that's a lie. Never useless. Or that I'd like to think I'm never useless. So I appreciate you. I wanted to, so JSC asked this question, and then he put a little context. Does name value equal fantasy value in your opinion? And he wanted to put some context on this. And I want to lock him into your lineup and forget about it. Others, you have an easier time trusting. Names like Christian McCaffrey, totally get. Justin Jefferson, totally get it. Unless he's playing with Jaron Hall, apparently, right? So all these things that here's what we do, right? Fantasy managers. And all our, we think so carefully about all these things, but we want to boil things down to an either or, this, that single variable equation, because it's easier for us to put our minds around. Like, oh, it's this thing going on. I'll take like Dalton Kincaid as an example. Ever since Dawson Knox has been back, he sucked. Well, kind of, yes, that's partly true. Also, since Joe Barry's been offensive coordinator, most of that time he sucked too, right? So there's almost all these things are multivariable equations. So when we get to the trust of a player's name, I'm a big proponent. I preach this all the time. You've heard me on the radio and on this very live stream on multiple occasions. Talk about the divorce the name from the numbers, right? Like, just look at the numbers. Go out and go out to the site that you play on, the platform you play on, whether it's My Fantasy League, Sleeper. Go to the stats and dial up. Like, okay, what's going on? Thing I like to look at the most is I will look at average points per game. Better still, average points per game over the last 4 games. I want to see trends and circumstances that might lead me to believe something. And, if you were doing that, you probably weren't playing Patrick Mahomes all season as much as other people were playing Patrick Mahomes, because they were playing his name and not the numbers. You were maybe dialed back a little bit on Stephon Diggs the last month or so, because the numbers have not been great. The name is fantastic, but with names come history. Name isn't a thing in a vacuum, right? There's a reason the names matter, and what matters is the history that comes with the name. So Stephon Diggs, we know, is a super high-end producer. I think when we look back on his career, this, what is it, a 9-game stretch where he hasn't had 100 yards, is going to be a minimal blip on the radar. Travis Kelce this season, he's still 16 yards. He's not going to play. I guess he won't hit it. The Chiefs are sitting everybody, by the way. The 49ers are sitting everybody. Expect the Rams to sit everybody. I'll run through that a little bit in case everyone wants to sort that out. Hi, Andrea. How are you? Good to see you. Thanks for coming. appreciate everyone again, man. So kind of you to come give us. Time is valuable. It's all we have, right? It's the one thing we have that's truly means something. So, here's the question everyone wants the answer to. I appreciate your time. How am I so devilishly handsome? I feel like you just called me an egg, Jay Felicio. Wish you would stop that nonsense. So that's the thing about the names with the numbers. I mean, the names come, with current production, but also with a historic production. And so a lot of these guys that I'm looking at the names this year and the numbers have been disappointing. What are we going to do with those guys? We're going to make a list and we're going to check it twice. And we're going to find out who is going to be a value in upcoming drafts. What do people remember? People remember the last thing they got, the last thing they saw. We drafted Gabe Davis last year based on a single game against Kansas City in the playoffs. He was going to be fantastic. Why did we do that? It was a mistake. Well, it was the last thing we saw was him being phenomenal. We remember these things, right? So people are going to remember, Patrick Mahomes. Wow, he didn't play that well against Cincinnati. I mean, maybe he has a great playoff run and that erases all this. But I think for people who invested in Patrick Mahomes as a top 3 quarterback, maybe he's a top quarterback overall. And by the way, the other two fared reasonably well. Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts probably gave you the numbers you were looking for on a per game basis, up to 23 points. Christian McCaffrey gave you the points you were looking for on a per game basis, except for week 17 when he gave you 13 points. Yes, that might have cost me. So, but still, I mean, I'm a big fan of JJ Zacharyson, and he talks about the variance, and there is variance, right? There's going to be ebbs and flows, and it's not necessarily a small scale. There could be larger scale ebbs and flows that are still in the big picture, smaller blips on the overall huge radar. So keep that in mind. And so what you should be doing right here, right now, and what I do, well, you shouldn't do what I do, not everything, but this thing you should do totally is start making a list of go through your league and look at players who came up short and disappointed. And it's not just like, okay, these are players I'm going to pursue next year. Understand why they disappointed. Put together a list of reasons. Was it a coaching change? Was it a supporting cast problem? Was it an injury issue? Which it often is. So these are all tactics and techniques you can use because those guys are going to go cheaper than they should next year. Just are. And, not that they shouldn't go cheaper. They should, but cheaper than they should. And so watch out for that. That's something. What else we got? What else you got out here? In the form of questions. I will find some. I'm looking. They're here. Oh, here we go. I knew I'd seen that. What's your opinion on dynasty leagues implementing median scoring points? Also, do you prefer a trade deadline? Have 2 leagues debating both these. So the median thing is interesting. Like maybe if you add it, are they adding it as an extra game, Dame? I think that's kind of how I've seen it done. I think I've seen it done multiple ways. I mean, I'm okay with it. It's interesting because I do think it kind of levels the playing field. And also, I think something that also does that, and that does that, something I do, we've always done in the Football Diehards leagues, to kind of mitigate the possibility that bad luck just hoses you. Like you're the highest scoring team in the league, and yet every week you play a higher scorer, right? Is we reserve a playoff spot for the highest scorer who doesn't have the best record, right? So it's everyone with the records gets playoff spots except maybe that lowest guy who otherwise would have been in. But we give it to the highest point total that's not already in, because I think that's kind of a fair way to do it. Yeah, median scoring kind of helps in that regard as well. So I'm okay with it. I like the total points thing, and maybe hell, you could do 2 playoffs or half your playoffs on total points and half on head-to-head. As long as people know in advance that's what's going to happen, there can't be much complaining. Trade deadline. I want to say in Dynasty, I think you need one for people. There's going to be people who are, and I say tanking, but legitimately selling off products and probably being willing to give up a lot. But I mean, ideally, I think in a Dynasty league, trades should be able to happen at any time. You should have good managers in your league. I know I'll just shout out Matthew Berry really came through the solid. So I'm heading into a playoff game. He's looking to rebuild his team. So he wanted some draft picks. I had an issue at running back. And so he traded me Jerick McKinnon for a couple picks. Not super high picks, but, picks that would help him build some depth. I have pretty good depth, in general, some long-term depth. I'm in a pretty good position. But also, I was making a push. I wanted to get in the championship, so I needed starting back. That was the week Jerick McKinnon went on IR. And wow, what a drag. And, and Matthew Berry came to me and said, hey, man, let's do this. If you trade me McKinnon for Samaje Perine, right? So good stand-up move by him. But in general, he's looking to add to his team. It's late in the year. He's out of the playoffs, but, in Dynasty, you're trying to build a roster. So I think it's perfectly fair. I do not want to have a trade deadline. I want to have good managers, a league of good managers who aren't going to take advantage of it and try some chicanery. There, that's an old man word. Look it up. Scampers liking the deviled eggs, I can tell. If you want a title with Diggs in your starting lineup, I tip my captain. You know who I won a title with in my starting lineup last week? I'm super excited by it. So Amari Cooper was. I had a lot of guys out. I was going up against Christian McCaffrey and a handful of guys, against Dempsey, probably the most competitive person on the face of the earth. And so I won with James Conner coming through against that tough Philadelphia defense. And but the guy that put me over the top was Mr. Justice Hill. Come on down. Anything could happen, right? So yes, especially if you won with Stephon Diggs in your lineup. JSC wants to know about some rookies. Will Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors be fantasy relevant their rookie year due to their names? No, due to their ability. So I mean, I think the thing about the names is interesting is that they come with history. Rookies come in with some history, right? They have some college production, but you kind of got to start from scratch, as we've seen. Not everybody who is expected to play well plays well. So I'll be paying a lot of attention to Matt Waldman. You'll hear us, Matt and I, every Monday morning. I don't know if you've been catching it, but there's a podcast. The name is Profane. I won't repeat it here so we can retain our Feel It or F It is the name of it. You can look it up. It's on Matt Waldman's Twitter feed. I retweet it as well. We do that every Monday, and we talk about some of these kind of things and a lot about incoming rookies. And Matt Waldman's the person I listen to. Also a new colleague of mine at FootballGuys, the website.com. I'm the new guy there. Fantastic. Things like third string Mason Rudolph, totally unpredictable. So isn't the best way to listen to guys like you weekly? Yes and no. I mean, I wasn't out there predicting George Pickens' Renaissance week, right? So I think, some of this is there's some things that are totally so far off the radar that you can't expect. That's what the NFL wants, right? The NFL wants these insane outcomes. I do think there's something to be said for, listening to people like me. Here's the thing, Jim, and you know this. You are people like me. We're just talking together, right? I have the microphone, I have the camera in front of me. You have the comments. That's something I'd love to work on at some point, getting the audience more involved in these video. And you can do it on Twitter a little easier, or X with the spaces. And I do spaces, by the way. I've been doing them every Monday with 32-bit with my friend Tip Major. So that's a good time. That's a little more interactive than this. The chat is great and I love it. But I like more interactivity. I want to see you people. I want to hear you people. Because this is really what this is this is a discussion. You guys are asking me questions, right? And I'm answering them. And a lot of times, it's just like, hey, do I start this guy or that guy? Well, yeah, I'm starting this guy, but that's really not the point of me answering the questions. The point of me answering the questions is having a conversation that spurs you to see how, or at least reveals how I think about things. That doesn't mean that's how you should think about them. It just shows you a process and maybe gives you a little chance to say, oh yeah, maybe I missed out on that. Or no, this totally cements what I was thinking. Bob Harris is wrong. I'm right. And here's why, because what he said does not resonate with me, right? His process is not what my process should be. If that's helpful, I want that to be helpful. So yes, listening to people like me and is a great idea for that reason. Not because I'm all knowing and all seeing, because I'm going to tell you, predicting the future is tricky business. There's a reason I've been able to do that for 30 years and not get run off. Um, it's because I don't pretend I know all the answers, right? Because I don't. Nobody does. I mean, people who make really strident, and I do, right? Sometimes you do. You want to make a dramatic effect. You want to plant your flag and make a really strident point. But if you've been doing this, I don't know, maybe 30 years, you learn that it's more likely you'll look like an ass. The more strident you are, the more likely you are to look like an ass. But if you're just having a conversation and letting people know how you arrived at a decision and why, they given the volatility of the NFL and the things that go on week to week that are just totally unpredictable, people understand that it's not going to always be right. And there are going to be George Pickens weeks or Amari Cooper weeks with Joe Flacco coming out of nowhere. But now that we look at that situation, right? We look at Joe Flacco. I'm amazed at what he has done for Cleveland and more specifically Kevin Stefanski, right? Kevin Stefanski was hired away from Minnesota as a high-level offensive coordinator who was doing great creative things. And he shows up in Cleveland, and what did he do? He started handing off football. Why is that? Because he didn't have the quarterback to do it. I'm going to run that right up through the last quarterback before Joe Flacco, who's Deshaun Watson. Now, Joe Flacco comes in. You're seeing the Cleveland Browns offense. Joe Flacco's not playing this week, people. It's Jeff Driscoll. I apologize for that because I would love to see him. But you see now Kevin Stefanski able to run the offense that he's always wanted to run. This team is throwing the ball 40 times. They're dominating the clock. They've got time of possession using the passing game. They're still running, but they're using the passing game. They're throwing the ball, 40 plus times a game. Joe Flacco's racking up 300 yards a game. Assets like David Njoku and Amari Cooper, and to whatever degree Elijah Moore can come on, they are. The running backs are becoming receiving assets, and they're a little more effective as runners. But this is a pass-first offense. This is the offense Kevin Stefanski was brought in to run, and he hasn't been able to because he's been limited by the quarterbacks. And so there's going to be some interesting discussions over the course of this offseason about the fact that they have a $230 million quarterback that maybe isn't the ideal guy to run their scheme. Maybe he is. Maybe they can develop him. Maybe there's reasons why he hasn't been what Joe Flacco has been able to do, rolling off the couch and showing up on a moment's notice, like willing to chuck the ball down the field into tight windows and trust that his receivers, who are highly paid, very capable, some of them, Amari Cooper, maybe among the best in the game, trusting them to do their job. Crazy. I got 2 second and 1 first this year out of 10 leagues and have 2 dynasty leagues. So everyone else throw in the chat how you did. How your overall season went. Mine was 36 managed leagues. 31 of them managed poorly. Look, I'm not going to pretend I can sit here. Like, if you're familiar with what goes on at FootballDiehards.com and you see 40, 50, 60, 70 articles, news updates going up a day, see articles going up, and you know that I'm writing a bunch of those articles, I'm not going to pretend I spend a lot of time banging the waiver wire or, focused on my lineup. I spend not nearly enough time. So, but there are a handful of leagues where I spend more time. And I want to do well. And I did well in some of those, and some of them I didn't make anything there, so 36 leagues, 35 of us, I guess 6 into the playoffs, 3 into the finals, won the military appreciation draft, lost in another military appreciation draft last 2 years, lost in the Kings Classic, which, damn it, I will pound my non-virtual desk and make my picture all blurry. Look at me go. That's how upset I am. The Kings Classic is a huge draft. If you're not familiar with it, it's held in Canton, Ohio at the Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame, every year during the Expo time. And it's a huge industry draft. There are 14-team leagues. We do 2 of them. 2 per division, right? I'm in the Jim Brown division. There's a Blanda division. Now they have additional divisions, but the original 2 are the Blanda and the Brown. And you get relegated. If you don't play well, they boot you down and they bring somebody else up. And I don't want to get booted out. So I'm the defending champion in the auction league, but I did not defend my championship. I went down to defeat to the great Curtis Patrick from Rotoviz. Great job, Curtis. Damn it. And so one championship and a handful of finals. So put in the chat what you did. I'd love to hear in the comments how you did things, how things went for you. Look at Troy Olsen in the house. We use median scoring for a second game, and it takes the luck out of it. It does kind of. I think that's the goal, right? And so I think so Dane was saying, yeah, extra game. And I think I do think that does, minimize the luck factor to a degree. But does it, it evens it out. It's kind of like, our buddy Marcus Grant talks about super flex leagues. Are we really changing the value of quarterbacks, or are we just making them scarcer? Are we really making it more even, or are we just adding, another layer? I don't know. I'm not against it. I'm like, and I do understand, like, how many times have we all been affected by the fact that we have a great team, and here we are, just every week we hit the wrong opponent. It's miserable. So totally not against it. And Troy Olsen, you are right. Julio Jones and Joe Flacco are fantasy relevant in 2024. Turns out, who knew? JSC, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. No trade deadline in Dynasty is the way for sure. Totally agree. I just think that, again, I think this is about who is in your league more than what that rule is. You have to have honorable people, or people at least not trying to pull, not willing to be scurrilous in the pursuit of a championship. I know not everyone is that person. It's true. Big Zoom show. Big Zoom show. Yeah, we've done some of those kind of things. I don't know how many people we could end up getting on there. I know we've done some, we can get a lot here on StreamYard. I have to find out those numbers. But I think it would be great if we had a way to bring people in while they ask their question at least, and made them show up and look as pretty as me. All right. At least as presentable as me. Like, at least from here up. Everyone can do that. You have no idea what's going on in the rest there, right? Royal Slade had the same thought. There's probably some things we could do. I think it's easier to bring on a few at a time, or a small handful at a time. But I think that's something I want to try and do. So we'll work on that. Joe Aber, a former football diehard, by the way, a staff member here for many years. I think the QB injuries have created a scenario that Superflex needs to. That's it, right? And to me, that's the problem. I think Marcus has the point. What we need to do is adjust the scoring so that it better reflects the value that quarterbacks play, or the role that quarterbacks play in the modern NFL, which is all important, right? It's the reason they make all the monies, even though they don't always seem like they earn it, said Patrick Mahomes, managers this year. Oh, Andrew's having trouble getting on the trip show. On the spaces? We'll have to look at that. We'll have to look in on that. And me and Tip will be on Monday at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I think that is. Time zone translations elude me, people. By the way, maybe you just got here. I'm Bob Harris. Hi. This is the Football Diehards YouTube channel. Football Diehards not going to be working as a website going forward. I will be at Footballguys. My good friend Joe Bryant has hired me on. They have a great staff there. I'm working with wonderful people. Many of my great friends, Sigmund Bloom, Matt Waldman, one of my closest friends in real life, Cecil Lammy, Jason Woods, this is Clayton Gray, just guys that I've known for many, many years, and a whole bunch of newer people who not only have I gotten to know, I've had them as guests on shows, Alfredo Brown, Dave Kluge, Jeff Bell. I mean, I'm leaving people off, so I'm going to stop because I'm going to look like an ass by unincluding people that I should include. But just suffice it to say, it's a great group, and I'm again super fortunate to have found a landing spot, even though I hate the reason I had to find a landing spot. Damn it, that sucks. All right. Look at me, not being all emotional. Man, I was a wreck Saturday. If you saw that, if you didn't watch that, go watch Saturday if you want to see me look a fool. Oy. Well, Andrew, we'll figure this out, because I noticed the audience was a little smaller this week. Maybe it was an X issue. I'll call Elon. Get on him. He'll take my calls. I earned the 101 in my maiden dynasty after being runner-up last year. We've had a different champ every year for 5. Ooh, that's entertaining. I want to say in all my dynasties, though, there's one where I just can't gain traction. I took over a dynasty in the SiriusXM Dynasty League, and it's just been impossible. It's been such a battle. It doesn't matter what I do. Injuries, attrition, I just can't ever seem to gain any traction. Can't claw my way into relevancy. Every year I suck and I get a great draft pick, and then something happens this year. I like Anthony Richardson. Woo! So hopefully I can start gaining some ground here at some point soon. Uh, uh, it's just like I do love Dynasty. So I wonder how many of you play Dynasty out there. I know probably many of you do. If you don't, you should try it out. It's so much fun. I avoided it for years. I didn't want to put the investment of time. You know, did I mention I get busy during the season? Right, don't want to have to manage those teams and I'm not like a draftnik rookie person, but since I've met Matt Waldman, he can help me get up to speed. And look, the draftnik industry is an industry unto itself now. There is no shortage of information. I'm watching pro football during the season, so I don't keep up with college game, but I can catch up pretty fast come January, February, and by the time we roll into the draft, I have a pretty good idea what's going on. In the one league I'm in, Scott Barrett's league, the one I mentioned where Matthew Berry did me a solid. It's a tough league, super tough league. A lot of really heavy hitters in there. We draft. Our rookie draft is before the NFL draft, so you're flying blind. It's crazy. Crazy, I tell you. Let's see. What do we got? Kevin Payne. Hey, Kevin. Won title, but lost in my home league 28 years and counting. Final. Hate that. Damn, you're too kind. 4 leagues, 3 non-playoff, 1 lost in the final, 1 guillotine chopped in week 9. My 1 guillotine, I think I was chopped. If it wasn't week 1, it was week 2. I did much better than last year. It was Fabiano's guillotine league. He's a son of the great Paul Charchian running that league and sending out the weekly emails telling us of our shortcomings. I need to adjust my draft analysis to align with the 3-game preseason because some teams don't play starters now. Puka Nacua and Kyren Williams helped a lot of teams into the playoffs. They drove teams into the playoff, right? Kyren Williams is a league-winning kind of player, right? He didn't come up as short as Christian McCaffrey in the final. Like, look, I'm not going to sit here and bitch about Christian McCaffrey. If we're the leagues, I had him in. Had I not had him, you would not be in the final. And again, you're looking for that leverage over the field. Christian McCaffrey gave it to you. Kyren Williams, when he was healthy, gave it to you. It was a great season. I think the funny thing I noticed about Christian McCaffrey, I'm going to read you something that I found very interesting. This is what I wrote about Christian McCaffrey last year. 6 weeks into the 2022 season, the Panthers traded McCaffrey to the 49ers. At the time of the deal, San Francisco was 3-3, struggling to find offensive consistency. The team won 12 straight after McCaffrey became the starter before losing in the NFC Championship game against the Eagles, which came with Brock Purdy suffering an elbow injury that essentially incapacitated the offense. But before McCaffrey came on board, the Niners ranked 19th in the NFL in points scored per game at 20.3, 18th in yards per game, and they were low in expected points added. After McCaffrey's arrival, the 49ers ranked second with 29.8 points, fourth with 379.6 yards, and their EPA went up over 7.4 points. So over the final 6 weeks of the season, McCaffrey ran 101 times for 505 yards and 4 touchdowns while catching 27 passes for 262 yards and 3 touchdowns. When I'm drafting early, I'm looking for leverage on the field. He averaged 22.2 PPR points per game in his final 10 games in San Francisco, including 5 outings with at least 25 PPR points. That's the leverage I'm talking about. McCaffrey's 3-down skill set in this running back-friendly offense gave him a strong claim to running back 1 status and the number 1 overall spot for 2023. All I need to do is tweak the numbers and change the dates. I've already got my Christian McCaffrey and stuff written in advance. Because does anything change for you next year? Is he a little older? Are you going to dial back? For any reason? I'm probably not. There's going to be other people who move up with him. Kyren Williams is going to be in the first round. Mike Dempsey and I did a whole couple segments on this on the Sirius radio show on New Year's Day. Who our first round picks were, and maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that here. Maybe next Saturday we'll do a little of that. We'll probably focus on the games Saturday. Maybe next Wednesday. Yeah, he's like, that's what you want. Who's not going to be a first round pick? Travis Kelce. He's not giving you the leverage over the field. Quarterbacks are going to go later. They're not giving you the leverage over the field. Even the top guys. I mean, when you looked at it like Hurts and Allen, they're like up there at 23, 24 points per game. The next group of guys is right there at 20. I mean, does it really pay off to invest that first or third or second or third round draft capital in guys that aren't giving you that kind of leverage over the field you're looking for? I don't know. But yes, the 3-game preseason, it's weird, man. Preseason has become useless. Some great people in Joey Wright at Football Guys. Joey Wright would appreciate that. No volume in the space. Damn it. Don't know what's going on with that. Pardon me while I have some beverage. It'll be the zero sugar cream soda, of course. I think preseason stars can go both ways. See Pickett, right? There were a number of guys. Kenny Pickett was definitely one of those guys. I mean, I can remember, not to cast aspersions here, he just tried to call me and interrupt my live stream, Michael Fabiano. But I mean, like legitimately, and it's understandable. He predicted, we're all looking for the second-year breakout quarterback. He predicted it would be him. Based on the preseason, you would have totally believed that. That would totally look like it was coming true. Football's weird. I'm behind, but I put in 14. Oh my gosh. I had 12 of my 14 dynasties into the playoffs. Troy, my man. 7 buys, but it went downhill from there. 3 titles in a second, man. That's how it works, right? That's how it works. Wendy Early with her new fancy iPhone. Which iPhone did you get? Mine's a 14. Is there a new one now? I don't know. There are ways to do videos and Q&As on Upriver. Thank you, Troy. I appreciate that. Dave, thank you. Thank you, Toronto Dave. Yes, Football Guys it is. And if you missed the start of this live stream, go back and rewatch it. I explained the whole story of what's going on. Or go watch Saturdays if you want to watch me cry while I try to get it out. It was funny because that was like, so all season long. I mean, this has obviously been going on for a long time. And the blinders have been on, man. Do the work. Get it done. Let's land this thing in the way that it deserves after 30 years of effort we've put into it. Let's give it the respect it deserves. And last Saturday was the first time I've really talked about this at all. And man, it just hit hard. Hey, obviously, I've processed it a bit better now and processed it a bit more, but man, it's crazy. Tough circumstance. But go back and listen. And again, if you Emil Cadlick is out there, he maybe even watch this. Hello, Emil, if you are. Send him a note. Emil.cadlick@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you and whatever you got to say. Just say, hey man, great job with everything, or hey man, appreciated this, or hey man, I like playing high stakes or whatever. Yeah, interesting man, Emil Cadlick. I won 2 of my leagues, says Toby, for the 5th time in 6 years. Came in 3rd in the other one. Kyron and Pacheco were my stars where I won. Diggs and Kamara were the goats in my semifinal loss. They were goats for sure. Diggs has been a bit of a goat. There were a number of failures. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to call Christian McCaffrey a goat, but if in the final in week 17, it wasn't the usual Christian McCaffrey. It was half. It was half of McCaffrey. I need the whole damn thing, he said, pounding his non-virtual table. YouTube, not Upriver. I got you now. Oh, is there a way to do it on YouTube? I'll figure it out. CMC 101. Bing, bing, bing. So where does CeeDee Lamb go? Where is CeeDee Lamb? Is CeeDee Lamb 2? Is CeeDee Lamb moved ahead of Justin Jefferson? So here's what happened. Here's how we saw it, right? So Jamar Chase, pretty comfortable with, know who his quarterback's going to be, assuming all goes as planned. Justin Jefferson, is it not going to depend on Kirk Cousins? Is it not going to depend? I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to be in that conversation. Dak Prescott there, that offense seems to be hitting stride. I keep going back to that Thanksgiving Day game where Dak told us while he munched on that turkey leg, this offense is the most comfortable he's ever felt in an offense in his entire career. Like, I totally owe Mike McCarthy an apology. I thought he was going to be a bum. Thought he was going to be a bum, not a bum. But we heard the narrative when he was run out of Green Bay or left Green Bay or however you want to say that, right? That was boning it in. He kind of checked out. Was letting Aaron Rodgers and the kids run the show. Uh, and maybe he has something to prove, and maybe he proved it this year. Hopefully, he does not get complacent going forward. Andrea's still drafting CMC. Me too. I mean, I might diversify a little bit. We can all, it's easy to forget the 2 years ago when we all drafted Jonathan Taylor 101 without fail, and it bit us in the ass a little bit. If like I said last year, if I had the 101 like 6 different times, I might have 6 different players. There was a list of 6 guys. I had it more than 6 times, and I had way more Christian McCaffrey than the other guys, and I'm very happy about that. Who's my favorite NFL team, and what do I do as a Panthers fan with Tepper? I don't have a favorite team. I hate them all equally. If you ask like a dishwasher what his favorite plate is, he would say the cleanest one. That would be a similar approach I take with NFL teams. I grew up in Tucson, Arizona. There were no teams there. There were no Phoenix Cardinals, now Arizona Cardinals. There was nothing there. The closest I came was in, I want to say 78 or whatever, when the Seahawks and Buccaneers came in. All my friends in Tucson, everyone's from somewhere else. I'm a Tucson native, but like everyone's from somewhere. So all my friends at school were like, I'm from here. This is my team. I'm from here. Chiefs are my team. The Jets are my team. The Bengals are my team, right? Like all my friends, my teams. I had no team. So when the Seahawks and Bucks joined the league, I tossed a coin and it came up Seahawks. You remember the Buccaneers start to their illustrious franchise. I picked right, but like it was never like I was not truly invested. I just wanted to say I had a team. I didn't really care, and I still don't. I love watching them all. I love just watching all of the football, and that's where we're hitting to the point now of the season where I get to watch games. Like I watch all the games. Like I watch Red Zone. Probably you do the same, or some facsimile thereof, and you see it's the cliff notes of the games, right? You're seeing all the meatiest portions, the most delicious pieces that we love. It's like eating dessert without having to eat any of the dinner. Now we get into the postseason where I get to watch one game at a time. And I watch all the, I have the NFL app premium service thing where I can watch the abbreviated games. And I do while I'm writing during the week. I watch them over and over. If there's something I want to see, I can watch the all 22, whatever. But man, you get into the postseason and it's just it's almost like you forget you're consuming football in a different way. I consume it like it's meant to be consumed, and you understand the ebbs and flows and watch your coordinators set up opposing defenses, or opposing defensive coordinators set up opposing offenses, or lull them into a false sense of security. And just I love the whole love that slowdown. It's a big deal for people in this business. They all know, when things slow down, it's kind of a joyous time. Wendy's got a 15 Pro Max. Well, I almost swore. I better up my game. Better up my iPhone game. Damn it. Andrea with the Android. My fiance has an Android. My mom, a lot of people around me have an Android. I do not. Royal Slade does. Wendy was Android forever. I'm starting a revolution here. What are you going to do with Tepper? You want to get me started? What kind of person does that, right? Like, just first of all, what kind of person does that in front of God and everybody, right? A person who probably does way worse when nobody's looking. That's what kind of person does that, right? And we won't get into the fine. I know Mike Florio put out a thing like that was like if you were like a normal person, that was like a $14 fine for Tepper, $300,000. Honestly, they should suspend him. He should not be allowed to go to games. There should be a period of time. If the NFL wanted to look like not hypocritical, a league that punishes players with fines equal to entire game checks for making football plays, literally making football plays, you can be fined. You lowered his helmet. Okay. I get it. You're trying to correct that activity. You're trying to correct it and change the trajectory of the game. But the hell with that, right? You're stealing from players, but you're letting owners get away with whatever behavior they want towards the people who are paying the bills. David Tepper's an ass. Not that he gives a rat's ass what I say, right? He does not. But I think the owner his team is a reflection of how he runs things right now. So hopefully he learns from all this, Scampers. Hopefully he learns from all this, and they can move forward, right? Scampers wear a rain jacket around Tepper, not my team, but as one who's lived in North Carolina now. See, he hosed. He did that too. Like yes, yeah. JJ depends on the quarterback. You got me off on my soapbox there about Tepper. Apologies for that. It's easy to pick on rich people. Nobody likes him anyway, but he deserves to be picked on. Yeah, it's JJ will, and that's true. Like, I hope the Vikings listen to him and bring back Kirk Cousins. I mean, have we not seen what the alternative universe here looks like? Like, whatever you think of Kirk Cousins, like, oh, he can't win the big game, or he's horrible in the clutch, or he comes up short when it matters most. Not for me. Not for my fantasy investment, right? Yes. Andrea had issues with the iPhone. Jim and Android. Toronto Dave's and the Bills Mafia. To hell with your phones, people. Bills Mafia, the frugal. There we go. Scampers. It's too bad as a fan base wants to support team, but he is making it harder for sure. I mean, it's just irritating, and you know that his impatience and it comes from the fact that he can just buy his way out of a wet paper bag anytime he wants, right? If he hires the right guy, like Matt Rule, whether it's the right guy or the wrong guy, he doesn't care if he perceives it to be. He just buys him out. Matt Rule is making more than the GDP of small countries most of last year as part of his buyout. Andrea also in the Bills Mafia. Tabrine has I got a trade offer to give up Purdy for Christian Watson in the 110 in the 10-team Superflex Dynasty. I already have Burrow, Tua, and both backups. Is that enough for Purdy? The Superflex? I'd ask for more. I would ask for more. In the Superflex, it's a 10-team, so it'd probably be difficult. I would give it a shot. I would say, I wish it was a higher pick. Maybe ask for 2 picks as well. Because, I mean, the truth is with Christian Watson, will he ever be healthy? We don't know. We have not seen that yet for an extended period. I do think he could be a huge talent. And it turns out Jordan Love. Remember when the guy was telling you this summer, like, hey, Jordan Love, might not be as bad as people think, if you were, you know why I said that, right? But anyway, I'm not here to victory lap at the moment. But that 4-game span as a rookie, 7 touchdowns, enough to sell you on his potential? Yes. Is it enough to make you believe he can do it consistently? I don't know. It was just 4 games, and he's had a lot more opportunities. He hasn't delivered to that high end. He's had games. He had moments. I'd want more. I'm greedy. I want more. I would certainly ask for more. And, in Superflex, quarterbacks are a little easier to move. And if it's a single quarterback league, it'd probably be hard. Purdy's going to be a top 5 quarterback, though, probably next year, top 5 or 6. So I'd ask for more. More. Tavern. Zorn and Largent. That was back in the day. And Chuck Knox, the coach. You knew Wendy. Android. Toronto Dave was the Android. I'm going to draft CMC on my Android. I might take your Android to draft that. Mr. Scampers took my son and grandkids to the Panthers Steelers last year. More terrible towels than Panther fans. That's not unusual, though. I mean, I think that's everywhere, right? Wherever you go, if you're Steelers, they travel. Not iPhone till I die. Dang. It's funny because I'm a PC person. I'm not a Mac computer person. I like my iPad and my iPhone, though, like crazy. They need to re-sign Kirk and draft a JJ. The commission works for the owners. Punishing them is punishing you as boss, and that's not going to happen in a meaningful way. I get that, but it still should. Just should, right? If you're sitting there, and I mean, the NFL said, we're going to hold owners to the same account, if not a higher standard, the off-field personnel, than we do the players. They're not. That's a big fat lie. Stop lying, NFL. Do the right thing. Oh, Will, come on, man. Whose house? Rams house. SoFi. Do the Steelers show up there? I think they do. I mean, they show up everywhere. If a fan had done what Tepper did, he'd be banned from the stadium. That is the fact, Toby. I just dropped Jordan Love for Anthony Richardson in my dynasty best ball. Richardson was dropped because of injury, so I scooped him up. I would rather have Richardson than Love. And yeah, Burrow and Hurts just you're going to be fine, Will. You're going to be all right. I still see Anthony Richardson as lottery ticket. That's another soapbox I will climb up on quickly before we call it a night because the hour is up. And I appreciate you putting up with all my nonsense for the course of this entire hour without any real questions about Week 18. I would have answered them, but it's crazy and it's hard to know what's going on. I think if you're looking at quarterbacks I think we're gonna look at quarterbacks differently next year, right? We're gonna dial back. We're not gonna buy in, but there are upside quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, man, I'm gonna want some of that. I still believe in that. I still believe in that lottery ticket play. I love having that, even with those other quarterbacks. What else we got going on here? Safe. Almost every game is SoFi, right? There's no like local fan base. It was Arizona. I felt was always the same too. There'd be more Bills fans in Miami this week. This is true. Oh, everybody shows up. See, it's true. I think and you see that in Arizona. I think there are places you see that. Thank you very much, Jim. And yeah, if y'all get a thought to email, give him a shout out, call, give him that email message, say hello, share the GoFundMe if you don't want to donate if you don't. Jaden Reed, greater than Christian Watson. I think that's not entirely wrong. Wisconsin Debo, as my friend Michael F. Florio calls him. I agree. All right, everybody. I'm going to come back here on Saturday, and we'll talk, and we'll see if we have some DFS info or if you have any lineup questions or anything that we can actually help you with other than this nonsense I've been talking about tonight, which has mostly been about me. And that's probably not going to be the norm going forward. We've kind of just needed to work through some of the issues. Let everyone know what's going on, man. I want y'all to be thinking about Emil as, someone who's really cared about the industry and put a lot of effort into it and helped a lot of people along the way. Appreciate your interest in him and his situation. And yes, I appreciate you all. Thanks, everyone. And I will see you then on Saturday at noon Eastern time, by golly. I'm Bob Harris. Over now. Really?